Hello, and thanks for joining today's session in LHSN Safer Care Accelerator webinar series. My name is Dee Thompson, and I'm a policy fellow here at Imperial College's Institute for Global Health Innovation in the Center for Health Policy, and I lead on the LHSN program, which is a joint initiative with the World Innovation Summit for Health. We're pleased to be joined today by another member of the IGHI and CHP family, Joshua Simons. He'll be discussing a new incident reporting system called CareReport, which was developed within the Institute. So Joshua currently leads the Big Data and Analytical Unit within the Center for Health Policy and Institute for Global Health Innovation here at Imperial. His background is in high-throughput systems design, and he has nearly 2 decades of experience in application design and systems architecture. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Joshua.
Hello, yes, my name is Joshua. Just to give a bit of background here, we had a 3-year research program here within the Center for Health Policy on a system called NRLS, the National Reporting and Learning System. That system is the Patient Safety Incident Reporting System currently for the entire NHS. It's a national level system where local risk management systems report into. As part of that research and development program, we developed a demonstration system of what a more advanced patient safety incident reporting system could look like. And so that's what I'm going to walk you through today. The system is called CareReport and is a fully integrated solution for incident reporting and learning. And so I'll part more on that as I go through. So just to start out, so what we set out to accomplish with the CareReport is that we wanted to build a platform which would embody the output of the NRLS Research and Development Program, that 3-year program. We wanted to develop a frugal but fully integrated solution to empower all facets of reporting, learning, and feedback. And we wanted to integrate new technologies and mobile platforms and harness the power of human factors and behavioral insights. And overall, we wanted to make it easier to use the entire system. So I will now play you a quick video which shows an incident actually being reported in CareReport. So this is a example of a retained swab incident, which is actually listed as a never event according to the NHS. Here we have an input of a minimum of 7 questions, but the questions can be added, changed, or removed as you need. And we leverage a search functionality for those questions. In our demo, we've added some items like patient ID, as well as an indicator for mental harm. We have the ability to attach photos and to report anonymously. But one of the things that we've really kept is the free text description. Now, as incidents are reported currently, every incident has a free text description, and this can range from a very short patient fell to a very long narrative of the entire incident. Previously, this free text description wasn't used very much, and that's because when we were looking through the incidents, we just did a very simple search of those incidents. This platform has leveraged some more advanced techniques like natural language processing to produce what you see at the moment. So in our case, this reported incident was a retained swab incident. When we submitted that incident, there was immediate learning linked to that incident, which is actually related to retained swabs, which is a CAS alert from our central alerting system. So what we've actually done is leverage the power of that free text and natural language processing to produce learning that is directly related to the incident. So just quickly moving on. So one of the things that we found that was most important when we were doing our surveys regarding what reporters and reviewers wanted out of a patient safety incident reporting system was that they wanted a mobile platform, which currently the NRLS as it stands is not a very mobile platform. You actually have to sit down at a designated workstation and do your reporting there. So there's obviously a gap between when an incident is reported and the actual reporting of that incident where information, vital information, can actually be lost. So bringing it up to a more modern tech and providing a mobile interface was really important. Just to show you that that interface is the same as the interface that we just reported on in the desktop version. So the desktop version is actually a mobile-friendly website, whereas the application is a native application for reporting. So going back to the feedback, one of the things that we found was that when reporters are reporting incidents, they are not seeing what happens with their report. They're not getting any feedback on that report, and it leads to kind of a black hole problem where they report the information and the information is taken by the risk managers, but they never see any return on that information. What we did with our system is we tried to give them immediate feedback that's directly related to the incident that they've reported by harnessing things like natural language processing to actually read the text of the information and give that related feedback. That feedback then is immediately available in the platform. So they can actually click through to that to read information that's actually related to the incident that they reported, and to give them some guidance as to what to do about that particular incident. So that's immediately available, and that learning can be linked at any given point. So on any question that's related to the report or the free text description, we can actually do that linking at any level. So it's actually based on a filter system where that filter can actually be set at a departmental level, at a local level, at a national level. So there's a lot of flexibility about who has control over giving relevant feedback and learning to the reporters themselves. I'm just going to quickly skip the next slide. It's a video for feedback as well. But the point is that we can embed video feedback, we can embed links, we can embed forums, and we're going to bring in the ability to do voting of information so that people can actually rate that information as being relevant to them or not. So in our interface, one of the things that we wanted to do was give the reporters the ability to look at the incidents that are being reported, not just their own incidents, but the incidents across their entire institution. So what we've done is we've built in a filter interface which allows reporters not necessarily to view the free text of an incident description, but to look through all the general characteristics of the incidents. And this is really important when we come to visualize this data, because the reporters now have the ability to visualize data that is important to them. As you can see, we have just a basic set of filters at the top and a search for searching through the free text. But we can actually search on any of the questions that are asked during reporting of an incident. And what's really important about this is we've built in the functionality for smart searching. So the problem at the moment is that people who are reviewing patient safety incidents have to look through incidents multiple times to find the incidents that they're looking for, because they're reported in different formats. So you might have a case of wound infection or infected wound. You might have C. diff spelled differently across different reports. So the point here is that we've actually leveraged the ability to do more advanced searches. And we're going to make this even easier by actually making this text something you just add another search, and it all gets added to the same filter. So this is a very powerful search. So in this case, it's showing that we found 65 incidents. If I had just searched for retained swab in this case, I would have only found 16. So by adding swab count, which is related to retained swabs, even though retained swab isn't mentioned in the incident, we find more signal on those types of searches. And this gives us a much better view of our data, a much more realistic view of our data. And one of the most important things is being able to actually visualize within the same platform. So as it stands at the moment in NRLS, people report incidents. Those incidents get reported to the risk managers review those, maybe do a bit of visualization on their side, but most of the visualization and aggregation of data is done at the national level. What we've done is embedded the visualization in the same platform, so anybody can actually do that type of visualization. And that becomes really important when we're looking at reporting trends. So because the NRLS is a voluntary system and not a mandatory system, this is not an actual reflection of the true number of incidents that occur. In fact, we think that only about 5% of incidents are actually reported, and that's because it takes a lot of time to report incidents. There's information loss during incidents and these sorts of things, which this platform helps solve. So hopefully we'll have more reporting because of it. But also what we can see here is the reporting trends. So when I actually do this visualization, it shows me not only my local level, which is on the left, but in the middle, the other institutions of my type, in this case, acute teaching hospitals, and also at a national level. So very quickly, you can get a feel for how these types of incidents are being reported at a local, a peer level, and at a national level across the entire institution. So very, very powerful embedded visualizations within the platform. What we've also embedded is landing pages for reviewers and landing pages for reporters. So in this case, we have just a series of widgets that can actually be replaced, and you can replace these with more pertinent widgets for your institution. But what this gives us is when you log in, it immediately lands you on this page and gives you tools to actually get right to the data that's most important to you. So here we can see dashboards, charts, and items that are ready for review in the case of a reviewer. If we go on as a reviewer and look at the items that are ready for review, then we can amend the classification and we can create a review. And that feedback then goes back to the reporter, and they can see the notifications on their own landing page that their items have been reviewed, or that there are pertinent items that are ready for them, such as local meetings and clinical assessments and that sort of information. So there's a much more integrated message system here where the incidents become living documents that can then go between the reporter and the reviewer, instead of just static information that gets submitted to the reviewers, and then the reporter doesn't get any feedback on that information. Going back to our hospital numbers, so we had the ability to capture a patient identifier, and the reason that we want to do that is because it's really important to be able to tie information across systems so that we can actually get a better view of a patient's care, because that's very pertinent to the patient safety for the patient. So in this case, we have hospital number that can be tied to other clinical data within the same trust, or to other sources of data such as primary care data or secondary care data. Some more advanced technologies that we embedded in our platform. So one of the things we looked at was semantic correlation. And what semantic correlation allows us to do is to look at the language patterns of incidents to tie incidents together rather than looking at just keywords. Again, this is about reducing the amount of searches that a reviewer has to do to find the same information for related incidents. Other things that we've looked at are automated harm and severity scoring for incidents, so that we can actually get outside of the bubble of people being confused about how to actually classify the incidents in regard to harm and severity. And then, of course, scalable and mobile technology. And going back to our modern text searching, so when I was saying that we can look at both wound infection and infected wound at the same time, we do this in the database natively by stemming the root word of infection to infect, and it does this automatically. And then we can look at multiple incidents that are related, such as wound infection and infected wound, without actually having to search for both. So this is a more automated method of doing that type of searching. And again, a very key important feature is that the user interface is the same across all platforms. So here you can see that we've done it the same across all platforms, and even though we've just got Mac products here, it actually works on any product, whether it be a desktop or Android or any other platform. And most importantly, the system is actually ready to be deployed alongside existing solutions to do clinical trials for its efficiency.
Great. Well, thanks so much for walking us through that. Now, I know we have some time for questions, so I wanted to open it up to the audience. Again, feel free to either raise your hand or submit those via the chat and question functions. But I have one to start, and maybe a bit of a provocative question. But what would you say to a healthcare leader who has already invested potentially a lot of money into an existing incident reporting system and might be hesitant to start over with a brand new system?
So at the moment, the system is meant to be deployed alongside existing solutions so that you can actually harness the power of the search functionalities, the visualization, the mobility of the platform. Our goal would actually be to tie this into existing systems rather than replace them outright. And what this brings to the table is the features that more modern clinicians need to use in order to actually be truly effective at patient safety.
And I know that you've spoken with a lot of clinicians about this and walked them through the CareReport as it stands now. So I was wondering, what do they like most? And on the other side of the coin, has there been any sort of pushbacks or criticisms about the system as it stands?
Well, what people are actually liking the most is that it actually, from a reporter standpoint, being able to actually see immediately that the system understands the incident that they've reported. And so getting that immediate feedback and that learning and the ability to share that learning with other people is a huge win for the reporters. For the reviewers, for the risk managers, the win is more efficiency in actually searching through existing incidents as they occur. And being able to leverage this type of technology in order to actually do proactive solutions like start of shift reporting and looking at what are potential risks coming onto shift. I think that the main criticism might be that the visibility of incidents and the technology for the anonymous reporting are not quite clear as to how that anonymity is maintained. And so I think that that's something that we have to clarify and do with the clinical trials. And again, the clinical trials need to be done alongside existing solutions to provide that actual backing, because this is a purely research-based initiative at the moment.
Great. Well, I think that dovetails into the next question, which is what's next for CareReport? What are the next steps? Are there pilot sites that you've already identified, or how are you planning on taking this forward?
Yeah, so we've had some interest from the West London Mental Health Trust, which would be a huge benefit, because if we look at existing incident reporting systems, they're primarily based around physical harm rather than mental harm. And mental harm hasn't really been the consideration because the original incident reporting systems were more about kind of litigation requirements. So that's one of the sites that we've identified for deployment. We've had interest from a number of other sites, both within the UK and outside of the UK. As I said earlier to you, I'm actually presenting this at the first annual Patient Safety Conference in Pakistan in May. So we have quite a few sites that have expressed interest. I think the next steps are actually to do the clinical trial and integrate it with existing systems, and to sit down with the sites for deployment and actually get their requirements to have that deployed.
Well, I think just one final question before we thank you profusely for taking the time to speak with us today, was just if you had maybe 2 or 3 key takeaways that you'd like to leave the audience with, either about CareReport or about incident reporting in general, or really kind of anything in that space.
I think this has been a very interesting learning experience developing this application, and I think that at this point, it's actually very important to note the development timeline for this. So this was developed within 3 months on a very frugal budget. And it just shows that by harnessing more modern technology, we can actually add a lot of functionality that enhances patient safety. And it's not all about having the most latest bells and whistles. It's just very simple things that make people's lives easier. And I think that that's one of the keys. If we're going to improve patient safety culture within institutions, we need to give them the tools that are required to make their lives easier. And I think that this is a step in that direction.
Great. Well, I think no better point to end on than that one. So I wanted to thank you, Joshua, for taking the time to walk us through this, and to everyone out there for joining. We'll also be posting a recording of this on our website at www.leadinghealthsystemsnetwork.org. So please feel free to check the website if you'd like to share. And thanks so much, and hope everyone has a great day. Bye-bye.